In the heart of human experience, a table set for a meal is never just about hunger. It is a stage for culture, a testament to history, and for millions, a direct conversation with the divine. For the Jewish people, this conversation is woven into the very fabric of every bite they take, a complex and ancient language of faith known as kashrut. This isn't merely a diet, it's a discipline, a form of spiritual architecture built over millennia, where every choice carries the weight of identity and covenant. To understand these laws is to peer behind a veil, to see how the mundane act of eating can be transformed into a profound statement of who you are and what you believe. It's a code written not in ink, but in flavors, textures, and traditions that have bound a people together through exile and homecoming. We are about to unlock 5 of the most significant pillars of this sacred code, revealing why certain foods will never be found on a devout Jewish table in Israel or anywhere else in the world. This journey into the soul of a culture promises to be fascinating. If you're ready to explore the deeper meaning behind the food we eat and uncover the secrets of these ancient traditions, do me a huge favor and hit that like button right now. And to make sure you don't miss out on more deep dives into history and culture, click subscribe and ring that notification bell. It truly helps the channel grow, and you'll be the first to know when we uncover new stories. Number 1. The pig and its absolute prohibition. Perhaps no dietary law is more famously associated with Judaism than the absolute prohibition against consuming pork. This rule is not a mere suggestion or a later rabbinical invention. It is a foundational command, etched directly into the Torah, the core text of Jewish law and scripture. In the book of Leviticus, the divine blueprint for a kosher diet is laid out with remarkable clarity. For a land animal to be considered permissible for consumption, it must possess 2 distinct characteristics. It must have completely cloven hooves, and it must chew its cud, a process known as then
rumination.
Provides specific examples, and the pig is singled out by name. It has the cloven hooves, meeting the first criterion, but it does not chew its cud. This failure to meet both requirements renders it irrevocably non-kosher, or treif. But to stop there is to miss the profound depth of this prohibition. This is not just a matter of zoological classification. For thousands of years, the refusal to eat pork has served as one of the most visible and unyielding markers of Jewish identity. In a world of assimilation and external pressure, this dietary boundary became a fortress of faith. Throughout history, empires and oppressors have recognized this potent symbolism. During the Hellenistic persecution under Antiochus Epiphanes in the 2nd century BCE, Jews were forcibly commanded to sacrifice and eat pigs. The act of renunciation of even unto death became the ultimate act of martyrdom and loyalty to God. Similarly, during the Spanish Inquisition, the Marranos, or secret Jews, were often exposed by their neighbors who observed their meticulous avoidance of pork products, a food central to the Spanish diet. The jamon hanging in a window was not just food. It was a statement of Christian identity, and its absence was a dangerous sign of heresy. Over the centuries, various thinkers have attempted to append rational or scientific explanations to this ancient law. The 12th century philosopher Maimonides suggested that the pig's diet and habits made it an unclean and unhygienic animal, a potential carrier of disease. In the 19th and 20th centuries, some scholars posited that the prohibition was a public health measure, presciently protecting the ancient Israelites from parasites like trichinella found in undercooked pork. While these theories are intellectually interesting, they are largely dismissed by religious authorities. For the observant Jew, the reason is far simpler and more profound. God commanded it. The law is not a health guideline subject to modern scientific validation. It is a choke, a divine decree that transcends human understanding. It is an act of faith and obedience, a daily reminder of the covenant between God and the Jewish people. It teaches discipline, self-control, and the ability to sanctify the physical act of eating by making conscious, spiritually motivated choices. In Israel today, while secularism has made pork available in some non-kosher establishments, for the religious majority and for the nation's official identity, the pig remains the ultimate symbol of what is forbidden. Number 2. The mysterious realm of the sea. The
Just
laws
as with
of
land
kashrut
animals,
extend
the
from the
Torah
land
provides
into
a
the
clear
vast and
and
mysterious
elegant
depths
principle
to
of the
distinguish
water.
between the permitted and the forbidden creatures of the sea. Leviticus 11:9 states, "These you may eat of all that are in the waters, everything in the waters that has fins and scales, whether in the seas or in the rivers, you may eat." This simple two-part test becomes the definitive guide for what is considered kosher seafood. Anything that lives in the water and possesses both of these characteristics is permissible. This includes a wide array of familiar fish such as salmon, tuna, cod, tilapia, and carp. If a creature has only one of the signs, or neither, it is strictly forbidden. This immediately disqualifies a vast and popular category of seafood: shellfish, all crustaceans such as shrimp, lobster, crab, and crayfish lack both fins and scales.
The same is true for all
placing
mollusks,
them firmly in the
including
category of clams,
treef.
oysters, mussels, and scallops. The prohibition extends further to other aquatic creatures that fail the test, such as squid, octopus, and eel, all of which lack scales. Even certain fish that might appear kosher at first glance are forbidden upon closer inspection. The shark, for instance, has fins, but its scales are not the easily removable type specified by rabbinic interpretation. They are more
mighty
like
swordfish
tiny
and the
sharp
sturgeon
teeth
are
are
embedded
subjects
in
of
the skin.
extensive debate within Jewish law. While they have fins, the nature of their scales, which they may shed as they mature, has led to differing opinions among rabbinic authorities, with most Orthodox Jews considering them non-kosher today. The spiritual reasoning behind the fins and scales rule is a subject of deep contemplation. Many commentators suggest that it reflects a divine order in creation. Fins and scales are the normal and archetypal features of a fish. They represent a creature that is perfectly adapted to and belongs within its own domain, the water. Creatures that deviate from this standard, like those that crawl on the seabed or have shells, are seen as belonging to a liminal or ambiguous space, blurring the lines of creation's distinct categories. By consuming only those fish that conform to the divine archetype, one is symbolically aligning oneself with the order and harmony of God's universe. It is an act of acknowledging and respecting the classifications established at the dawn of time. This law also forces a level of mindfulness. One cannot simply pull any creature from the sea and eat it. Each one must be inspected and identified, turning the act of fishing and cooking into a conscious religious practice. In the bustling markets of Israel, like the Mahane Yehuda market in Jerusalem, you will see fishmongers proudly displaying the kosher certification for their stalls, with glistening, scale-covered fish on display, a testament to a law that has governed the Jewish table for over 3,000 years. Number 3. The inviolable separation of meat and milk. One of the most complex and defining characteristics of a kosher kitchen is the strict and total separation of meat and dairy known products. As basar b'chalav, extends far beyond simply not serving a cheeseburger or putting cream in a beef stew. It is a comprehensive system that governs every aspect of food preparation, service, and consumption. The origin of this entire framework stems from a single enigmatic verse that is repeated 3 times in the Torah. "You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk." This specific prohibition, found in Exodus and Deuteronomy, might seem narrow and agricultural in its original context. However, the rabbinic sages of the Talmud interpreted the threefold repetition as a sign of profound and wide-ranging significance. From this one sentence, they derived 3 distinct and fundamental prohibitions. First, it is forbidden to cook meat and milk together in any form. Second, it is forbidden to eat such a mixture, even if cooked by someone else. It is forbidden to derive any benefit whatsoever from such a mixture, meaning one could not even sell it or feed it to their animals. The sages, in their tradition of building a fence around the Torah to prevent accidental transgression, extended these rules even further. The prohibition was broadened from just the meat of a young goat to include the meat of all kosher mammals, referred to as behemoth, and the milk from any kosher animal. To prevent even the slightest accidental mixing, poultry was also included in the meat category by rabbinic decree. This leads to the elaborate system seen in kosher homes and restaurants today. A kosher kitchen must maintain two completely separate sets of everything that touches food. This means separate pots, pans, plates, cutlery, cutting boards, and even separate sinks and dish towels, one set exclusively for meat and another exclusively for dairy. Many kosher kitchens will even have separate countertops or color-code their utensils to avoid any confusion. The commitment to this separation is absolute. If a drop of milk were to accidentally fall into a simmering pot of chicken soup, the entire pot and its contents would become non-kosher. If a meat fork is used to stir a dairy sauce, the fork and the sauce are both rendered unusable. The separation extends to the meal itself. Not only can meat and dairy not be on the same plate, but they cannot be consumed during the same meal. Furthermore, a waiting period is required after eating meat before one is permitted to consume any dairy products. The reasoning is that meat can leave fatty residues and small particles in the mouth and esophagus. The length of this waiting period varies by community tradition, with some waiting 3 hours, others 4, and the most common practice being to wait a full 6 hours. The wait after dairy before eating meat is generally much shorter, often just requiring one to rinse their mouth and eat a neutral or parve, food like bread, unless the dairy product is a hard, aged cheese, which requires a longer wait. This entire structure transforms the kitchen from a simple place of cooking into a sanctuary of mindful practice, where every action is governed by a deep-seated spiritual principle. The symbolic interpretation is powerful. Milk represents the source of life, nurture, and sustenance given by a mother. Meat represents the taking of a life. To combine them is seen as an act of profound spiritual insensitivity, a symbolic confusion of life and death that violates the natural and divine order of the world. Number 4. The sanctity of life and the prohibition of blood. In the worldview of the Torah, blood is far more than a biological fluid. It is the very essence of a creature's life force. Leviticus 17:11 makes this concept stunningly clear. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. This belief underpins one of the most serious and fundamental prohibitions in all of Jewish dietary law, the absolute ban on consuming blood. This is not merely a suggestion to cook meat well done. It is a comprehensive prohibition that necessitates a special, detailed process for preparing all meat and poultry to ensure it is completely free of blood before it can be considered kosher. This process begins with the method of slaughter, known as shechita. Kosher slaughter can only be performed by a specially trained and religiously observant individual called a shocheh. The shocheh uses a perfectly sharp, nick-free blade to make a swift, precise cut across the animal's throat, severing the trachea, esophagus, carotid arteries, and jugular veins in a single motion. This procedure is designed to be as humane as possible, causing an instantaneous drop in blood pressure to the brain and immediate loss of consciousness. It also allows for the maximum drainage of blood from the animal's body, which is the primary goal of the practice from a kashrut perspective. The animal undergoes a rigorous inspection, or bedika, where the shocheh or another expert examines the internal organs for any signs of disease or injury that would render the animal treif, or torn. Adhesions on the lungs, for example, are a common cause for an animal to be deemed non-kosher. Even after this meticulous process, there is still blood that remains within the muscle tissue. Therefore, to make the meat kosher for consumption, it must undergo a special procedure known as kashering, or more accurately, melicha, salting. The meat is first rinsed thoroughly with cold water. It is then completely submerged in a coarse salt brine, or covered on all sides with coarse salt, which has a dehydrating effect that draws out the remaining blood. The meat is left to sit in the salt on a perforated surface, allowing the blood to drain away freely for a period of about an hour. After the salting process is complete, the meat must be washed 3 times to remove all the salt and the extracted blood. It is only after this multi-step, labor-intensive process that the meat is finally considered kosher and ready for cooking. Certain parts of the animal, like the liver, are so rich in blood that they cannot be made kosher through salting alone. The liver must be kashered by being broiled over an open flame, which allows the blood to cook out of it. This entire system underscores the deep reverence for life embedded within Judaism. By meticulously removing the blood, one is symbolically acknowledging that the life force belongs to God alone and should not be consumed by humans. It is an act of respect for the slain animal and a powerful, tangible reminder of the gravity of taking a life for sustenance. Number 5. The animals that blur the boundaries. Beyond the well-known prohibition of the pig, the Torah identifies a number of other specific animals that are forbidden, providing a fascinating glimpse into the systematic classification that defines kashrut. The key principle for land animals, as we've noted, is the dual requirement of chewing the cud and having a split hoof. This rule automatically excludes all carnivorous predators, as they do not chew their cud. It also excludes all rodents, reptiles, and amphibians. But the Torah takes the extra step of pointing out specific, borderline cases, animals that fulfill one criterion but not the other, as if to highlight the precision of the divine law. Among the most prominent examples listed in Leviticus are the camel, the rock badger, or hyrax, and the hare, or rabbit. The text explicitly states that the camel is unclean because, while it chews the cud, a camel's foot is more of a padded foot with 2 toes, not a true cloven hoof like that of a cow or a sheep. Similarly, the rock badger and the hare are pointed out as animals that chew their cud but lack split hooves. Modern zoology classifies rabbits as lagomorphs that re-ingest cecotropes, which resembles cud chewing, a testament to the keen observation of the ancient world. By singling out these specific creatures, the law leaves no room for ambiguity. It demonstrates that meeting just one of the 2 requirements is insufficient. The standard is absolute. This prohibition also includes all beasts of burden that do not meet the criteria, such as the horse and the donkey, which have solid hooves. The symbolism here, as with other laws, is often interpreted as a desire for clear and distinct categories. Animals that are fit for the Israelite table are those that fit a specific, divinely ordained template, typically herbivorous, non-predatory herd animals like cattle, sheep, goats, and deer. These animals were seen as gentle and domesticated, representing a peaceful and ordered form of life. Animals that deviate from this template, the predators that hunt, the rodents that swarm, or the ambiguous creatures like the camel that don't quite fit the mold, are placed outside the circle of permitted foods. This act of classification and separation is a core theme throughout Jewish law, from separating meat and milk to separating the Sabbath from the rest of the week. By adhering to these dietary distinctions, a Jewish person is participating in a daily act of bringing order to their world, mirroring God's act of bringing order to the universe during creation. It is a form of spiritual discipline that trains the individual to be discerning, to make choices based on a divine system rather than mere appetite or convenience. In the landscape of the Middle East, where camels are a common sight and part of the broader cultural tapestry, the Jewish refusal to eat them stands as another quiet but powerful testament to their unique identity and their unwavering commitment to a set of laws that have guided their steps for countless generations, turning every meal into an affirmation of faith.